The Canon EOS Rebel T5 represents the bare necessities of a DSLR in today's world with an 18-megapixel sensor, full HD 1080p video, and a 3-inch LCD screen. We bought the Canon EOS Rebel T5 for testing on Amazon from the official sellers, and if you want to get the same experience that we did, we highly recommend that you buy from the same place. Links will be in the description. If you like this video, remember to click like and subscribe. The Rebel T5 best price at Amazon isn't as small or light as the Nikon D3300. It measures 3.9 by 5.1 by 3.1 inches and weighs 1.1 pounds. The D3300 at Amazon is a little lighter at 15.2 ounces, but its 3.9 by 4.9 by 3-inch frame is just a bit smaller all around. The included lens adds 7.1 ounces, just a bit more than the 18 to 55mm lens that ships with the Nikon. Not many things have changed from the T3 to the T5 design-wise. All of the controls are still on the right-hand side of the camera and only require one hand for operating. Only a few small shifts in button layout have occurred, but they all made the controls slightly more accessible than on the previous model. The Live View button has been moved above the exposure compensation button. The display and playback button were moved a little left. Probably the most needed move was taking the speaker from the right side near the thumb and placing it on the top left of the camera so it is never accidentally covered up. The simple layout is great for beginners looking for something that is intuitive and not overwhelming, with enough control to learn the basics of photography. Exposure compensation, movie record/live mode, menu, quick control, playback, and display buttons occupy other spaces around them. All of the buttons are flat with little tactile feedback. The only buttons with any sort of travel are the exposure lock and AF point selector buttons positioned for thumb-based operation. They still manage to feel mushy. You can program the set button in the middle to bring up image quality, flash exposure compensation, depth of field preview, or toggle the LCD display on and off. The LCD toggle is already assigned to a button and the depth of field preview is usually impossible to see in small, dim viewfinders like this one, so you're pretty constrained in your button assignments. You can also reassign the pop-up flash button to control ISO speed, though that too has a dedicated button on the back. The limited feature set doesn't really require a lot of direct access flexibility though. I found that handling was pretty fluid when changing through shooting modes and changing settings while in manual mode. Being able to change all of your key settings with one hand is a nice change from the higher end models where you typically need two hands to change multiple things. If I had never picked up a DSLR before, I think I would have found it intuitive and easy to learn. That said, if you're completely new to advanced photography, or buying the T5 for someone who is, I recommend picking up a guide to help learn the basics. The T5's photo quality ranks as typical for an entry-level DSLR. In this respect, all APS-C sensor-size cameras at this price deliver about the same image quality. It does seem to have a slightly narrower tonal range than other models. JPEG photos look good up to ISO 400, at which point you'll start to see blotchy blacks when lighting got low. That happens with the D3200 too, but in lower light. While you can fix it a little bit if you shoot RAW, there's very little detail there to be had. You can get sharper images by shooting RAW starting at about ISO 400 though. Also note that you probably won't be able to see the problem with the blacks when viewing it in a browser, as I discovered when trying to put an example together, or on a phone or tablet. When shooting in low light, the T5 will perform respectable for an entry-level DSLR, keeping noise to a minimum. It covers an ISO range that is standard in DSLRs today, ISO 100 to 12,800. The noise isn't too bad from ISO 100 to 800 without noise reduction, but from ISO 1600 to 12,800, you will certainly want to take advantage of the three levels of noise reduction: low, normal, and strong. The low setting preserves more fine detail but isn't effective enough at the top end of the ISO scale. Normal and strong make the higher ISO ranges viable in low light settings but wipe away more fine detail. Video performance was improved over the T3, which wasn't much of a task as it only shot 720p. However, video motion, sharpness, and low light sensitivity were all down when we compared its test results to the newer T5i. These are all likely due to the subpar sharpness from the kit lens, so getting another lens is likely to help these results a bit. I don't recommend shooting sports or action with the T5 as it simply isn't the camera's strong suit. In my tests, it could only average about 3 FPS for about 10 shots when shooting JPEGs and fewer if you need to shoot RAW. However, the autofocus is fast enough to capture the kids playing around the house with consistent accuracy. You just have to pick your spots carefully to get the right shot. The color accuracy of the faithful mode has stayed true to the name. It is a little oversaturated at 105%, but compared to the other modes that top 127% saturation, it is very respectable. The chromatic aberration, dynamic range, and white balance all are slightly improved over the T5i as well, showing improved processing on Canon's end. Canon clearly has the know-how, ability, and production capacity to produce better cameras than this. It just seems to lack the motivation. Ultimately, the T5 is a camera that will take someone that has never used a DSLR and get them into the action quickly due to its ease of use. We bought the Canon EOS Rebel T5 for testing on Amazon from the official sellers, and if you want to get the same experience that we did, we highly recommend that you buy from the same place. Links will be in the description. If you like this video, remember to click like and subscribe.